What's up, guys? I used to do shit like I'm about to do right now a lot, like back in the day. Just, get on and talk about different things, stuff that didn't really merit a topical video of its own. But like a bunch of little things I wanted to say that if I tried to make a post, it would be way too damn long to read. And it potentially is going to be too long of a video to really want to post on Instagram. So I figured I just, throw some shit up on YouTube because despite the fact that a lot of times I can guarantee a certain amount of views on Instagram versus YouTube. I don't know how the algorithm counts it. I don't know how much of it you're actually watching before it counts it as a view or whatnot. So anyway, figured to put it up here instead. So I guess I want to start with the S2000, right? That's the most important thing. The thing I originally thought about making a video for, but I thought it would be way too long, or way too short. So I just made a post on it instead on Instagram the other day. But I went and spoke with Lee the other day, and he was saying that next month he'd be ready to have a spot open to get the engine out. He's like, I'll pull it in a day, and whatnot, I would imagine, and then I'd go pick it up, do the rebuild, and get it back. And I'm probably going to take an extended weekend. What I'll do is I'll ask for a day or two off because I want to be able to still do work, but also still have some free time and still be able to do the S2K. What I want to do ideally is that I get the engine home, I do the rebuild like immediately, the full long block. It's torn apart and rebuilt. So it'd be like get pulled out at the beginning of the week and then get ready for reinstallation at the end of the week, right? That's the plan. That's the soft plan right now. As far as parts, the only thing I need to buy is a timing chain, timing tensioner, and head gasket. I'm gonna go ahead and just replace all that because I don't, the car's got 150K miles on it. I don't know the status of when things have been updated or whatnot. I guess technically, if I was really smart, I'd be doing a water pump too, but I don't care. And I guess the one part of the reason why I don't really care too much is another part of the reason why I wanted to make this video. Like one of those topics I'm gonna throw in there, and that is the fact that having the S2K recently, having issues with the car sitting, made me realize, put some light on it. Like how many cars can you own and drive, and like how many cars can you really appreciate? And the fact that I don't have a garage to keep things in is not necessarily, I'm having a car sitting in my front yard and just kind of like wasting away. Why is it wasting away? Like, Chris, why aren't you driving the car? The car's healthy. The car is definitely drivable. I did drive it around for the first month or so that I had the car, but I had an old plate on there and I was kind of riding dirty. I haven't registered the car yet. The reason why is because, money's been coming in pretty good. I had one slow month, but then the rest of the time since I've got the car has been pretty good. And I figured that I would have already yanked the engine, had the rebuild done, and I want to put the funds towards getting the car built because I know there's going to be downtime, and you never really know. Like, my plan is yank, build, install, but plans tend to, get crazy. So I don't know exactly how much downtime the car is actually going to have. But at this point, I haven't driven the car, like really driven the car in about 2 months. So that's a long time. And so, of course, South Florida heat, South Florida sun, despite the fact that it rains down here a lot, it's got a soft top on it still. And I'm sitting here looking at it, the car just sitting there in the sun like every day. I'm like, fuck, well, I can't really do that. I'm going to wind up burning a hole in this fucking soft top. I have 2 big ass trees that are full of annoying ass fucking iguanas. So I'm like, well, what's the worst case? Do I deal with the iguana shitting on my car, or do I deal with the sun potentially burning a hole into the fucking roof? So I'm like, okay, I'll deal with the iguana shit, and I'll put the car under the tree so it's in the shade all the time. Did that, went to go clean the car, fucking mold starting to grow up in the car. So I'm like, Jesus Christ, damp from the rain, shade, keeping it cool. Like, this is terrible. Like, so now I have this car that I paid a fuck ton of money for, that I'm barely driven, just sitting and wasting away in the yard. Now it's getting to the point where I was like, well, I have a friend who lives on a ranch in Wellington, which is about 45 minutes to an hour away from me. I was even considering taking the car up there and just yanking the engine myself because he's got a barn that's empty, like concrete paved. Like, I could probably do the work. I'm pretty sure he wouldn't really be against me doing it. But then, I like to be able to build my engines in comfort at home, and I don't, then, so like for me to take it apart up there, then, chuck the engine all the way back here and take it back up there and all that shit, and I still need a little bit of fabrication work done for the, tapping, for the oil pan, for the return and stuff. So I'm like, man, it's just, that I'm going multiple places at that time. Lee's got to still do some work regardless. And then I got to go to Charlie's house to do everything. So it was leaving me with a little bit of a conundrum. So I decided to pop back up at Lee like one more time and see if I can't, get a day out of him. And still, technically, we haven't officially got a date. He's telling me August, but he still hasn't locked it in for me yet. I still don't have a quote how much he wants to charge me to do all this shit yet. So there's that, right? Now, it's got the reason why I'm pushing again is because I'm like, well, I can't let this car sit anymore. I'm gonna have to register the fucking thing. And why was I putting it off? Because, transferring the, tags and the title and everything, all that stuff, I could potentially be, plus the, an insurance deposit and whatnot, I could be $700-800 to do all this shit. So, like, that could be the money I could be using to pay Lee to yank the damn engine and reinstall. It could potentially go towards registering the car. And if I spend a lot of money to register the car and put the insurance, then the car winds up being down for a couple of months for, just in case, then I'm looking at paying insurance every month for a car that's not being driven. So that's, the situation I'm dealing with. Like, but I said at the very latest August, it should be up and running. And at this point, the last 2 months is not because of me that this job isn't done. It's because I'm in a situation where I don't really have the ability to yank the engine out. So, yeah, a little bit of some nonsense thing, but again, put it back towards perspective, like how many cars can you possibly own? Like, I like the idea of having different setups and whatnot. I still want a turbo K and an NAK, and I wouldn't mind having a turbo single cam of my own, but realistically speaking, the place I live, I can't stack cars like that. Maybe if I had a bigger yard and better means to store things, I would be, still buying more cars and building different setups. But at the end of the day, like, I'm only gonna drive one car regularly and maybe another car on the weekends, and every once in a while when maybe like one of the tank runs out of gas and I don't feel like stopping on the way to work, I can change out like that. So it made me think about the Integra again, and I was like, well, fuck, so even if I had this third car, this car it's in comfort, it goes from the Type R to the S2K, of course, to the Integra. And the S2K is fully functional. It's got AC, power steering, all that shit, but it's still super loud and it's super slammed, so it's not very comfortable practical car to drive around. Now, it's one of those things, when I was younger, I wouldn't have paid attention to that. I wouldn't have cared. But now it's been a couple of years driving a brand new or relatively brand new car. I can see the differences. Which, of course, brings me back to the reason why I bought the Type R. It's a 4-door family car. It's relatively quick. It's respectably quick, and it's super comfortable. Very responsive car. So there's a reason for all these things, to have all these different things. So, and also thinking about the Integra, I'm definitely glad I have it. With the crazy markup on Hondas, I don't see, it took me a couple years to find me a black interior Integra, because that's the thing for me as a peeve. I had to have black interior. I don't want no brown dash or anything like that. I wanted to have black interior. So it took me a while to find a black interior Integra that was clean enough to get. And which is why I was being super stubborn on not letting that car go, when it would have made all the sense in the world to sell it before. But it also got me thinking too, like, I've played with the idea, and I told you guys a couple times, that some of you guys that actually watch all my uploads, that keeping the Integra B series at this point isn't something that's most likely going to happen. I'm most likely going to turbo K the fuck out of it, right? And I have different options for turbo K. I could do stock turbo K. I could do, a 5-speed turbo K. I could do all-wheel drive turbo K. I don't know exactly which route I'm going to go just yet. Most likely going to be a 5-speed turbo K, and it's probably just going to be like a basic setup. But at the same time too, realistically speaking, I'm not going to be driving that car everywhere. It's going to be a rare thing that I take it out. So E85 is probably going to be a more likely thing. It's probably going to be a higher horsepower car. But still, with K series, how much power they can take without much modification, I still haven't 100% decided on what I'm going to do. And most likely going to happen is I am going to finish it as it is with the B series, because it's so insanely close to being finished. If I had a garage, this car would have been finished forever ago. The fucked up thing was, like, when I had a garage, I had no money to fund the builds. Now I have the money and don't have a garage, so it's a shitty situation I'm in. But it's one of those things where I'm like slowly, steadily rebuilding the credit. Making the money I've been making this past 2 years has been helpful, being able to build a credit line that I don't have to worry about. Now, I've talked about paying the high-ass interest rate for the cars. Well, we're a couple of years into doing that now, and I've already done a trade out. So my trading in the SI got a better interest rate, and then next year I'll refinance and get a better interest rate. And then in the meantime, I'm opening small credit cards and not really using them, swiping for a full tank of gas, paying it off, and letting those credit lines be open and building good credit history as well. So, I've mentioned before going to Orlando, but, things are going really good right now. There's very strong signs that my wife might get a huge bump in pay in the immediate future, not immediate future, but the next year or so. I think that she's looking at an enormous promotion, and if that promotion for her goes through, like I've been thinking for the last couple of months that it might, there's a very good chance that she's going to be making a lot more money than me. And we're talking about 6 figures. So with that in consideration and the money I'm making now and the comfort I am at my job now, I think that there's a good chance we might just go ahead and buy a house here. And houses here are a lot bit more expensive for what I need than it would be in Central Florida. So, that's why we're just kind of like chilling out and waiting for the credit to get as good as it can so we can have the best possible mortgage payment, because buying a car at a high interest rate versus buying a house, like just because I can buy the house right now doesn't mean the interest rate's going to be best suited for me to buy a house. So why not just wait a little while if we're in a comfortable position we are. So, again, leaving the Integra B series because I want to finish it, see it through, have it done, have the numbers on it. But once the car is dynoed, I'll probably sit on it for a while, drive it every once in a while. But I do already have a K series engine under construction that'll probably go into it instead, and eventually will get swapped back out. But this is all gonna have to wait until I get a house where I'm comfortable to work in, because there's only one real person I can go to right now to help me finish swaps and shit, and that's Lee. And Lee, he's a great dude, but works at a snail's pace. Like, sometimes I wonder how the hell is this guy paying his bills, because the work just seems like it's not getting done, and he doesn't have another job. That is his job. So I don't know. But anyway, that's beyond my reason to be nosy. We're friendly, but we're not friends enough like that for me to be asking those kinds of questions. But if we're taking this much time on progress for the S2000 and a couple other things that I got with him, then I can imagine like the mess it would be to try and finish the Integra like that. So it's going to be on me, and I just need a place where I can actually do it properly. And then, of course, thinking about the B series thing, and like I saw somebody in the groups and whatnot posting B series prices from like JDM imports. They're like $5,000 and shit. B series is, I think we got maybe 5 or 6 more years at most. And then like B series is just because we are already at the point where the JDM importers are starting to tax because they're starting to run out of their supply from Japan. And then we're going to, eventually, like I've even seen the junkyards are starting to slow down even on the more common shit. So eventually we're going to get to the point where even the marketplace is going to be insanely high for B series. Now, people are still stuck in the idea that K series is expensive when I've already talked about it a million times to prove that it's not. But B series is going to wind up being a flip-flop, where B series is going to be more expensive than K. And in some situations and instances, if you're paying retail prices, the B series is already more expensive than K. So, which goes with the post I posted today, like where I realized that the B series I have in the Integra is probably the last B series I would build for me. Well, I guess there could be a little bit of argument for this block over here. It's a B18 block where I have pistons that I can put in. There's, of course, the block is assembled right now, but one of the pistons I have in that block is slightly fractured. It's got a super small hairline crack in it, and I was going to be like, fuck it, let's send it and see how long it lasts. But because of the fact that it's going to take me so long to get to it, and then like when I finally do get to it, I'd like for it to last a little while. So, I have free pistons that I got. So, or not, yeah, those are the ones. The pistons, the P72 pistons I got to demonstrate for you guys, I have a set here. So, I figure that eventually when I get some time, I'm going to dig into that block, pull those fucked up CP pistons out and put the Nippon Racing in there. And eventually what I'd like to do is just throw a non-VTEC head on there, because that's something I want to do for a long time, is do a non-VTEC turbo build. And it'll be like a little, 500 horsepower non-VTEC B series build. And that block will be the last block I use. As far as the setup in the Integra that's currently there right now, I don't know what I'll do with that swap. There's a good chance I might sell it. Now, there's a lot of stuff that I got in there for free. I figured I don't like to sell gifts and shit like that. I've talked about that a couple times on the channel. But in this situation, I think that I've paid enough of my dues into all those companies where I'm not really, me selling it isn't going to be terribly awful, because I've brought a lot of money their way. So while I did get that as a thank you for representing, I think that I've done plenty of advertisement for everybody. I've done plenty of purchases with everybody. And when that car is done, and eventually maybe a year from now, maybe 2 more years from now, it's been a long ass time already, so I'm not in a rush. So when that car eventually does get finished, and I'll of course take videos of the dyno experience. I'll do some pulls, talk about the car a lot, and that'll be some more advertising, and then I'll yank it. And the reason why I'm saying that it's probably gonna get sold is because it's simply because of the fact that I don't have room. Like, I'm not doing this stock inventory thing anymore. Like, I don't want to keep inventory. I have one tall bookshelf, this kind of narrow, that I keep my parts on. And those are the parts for people's builds. But I'm not going to pre-stock anything. I'd experimented in the first quarter of the year, and I don't like how long it takes me to sell things. Like, yeah, you know, everything that I stock does eventually sell, but it doesn't sell as fast as I like. And some of the things I had, not all everything, but some of the things I had, I took, you know, I discounted to get rid of. So, I'm not gonna do that. So I'm not gonna stockpile heads anymore. I'm not gonna stockpile, you know, parts in general. Just none of them. Not gonna do blocks anymore. I'm paying an extra, you know, extra money to get them from out in Cali, but at the same time, like, it saves me the trouble of negotiating with people, going out to talk to people, picking up parts, you know, stuff like that, dirtying up my trunks. I don't like people, like, and I know that some of you guys that are customers of mine have, you know, you've probably felt like I've given you attitude or whatnot, but it's, you have to understand, like, again, I don't have a customer service buffer. It's just me that you're dealing with, and most of the time you guys are coming to me on a budget. You don't have money to play with, so you're nitpicking and worried about every little thing and every little detail that goes into it instead of just letting me do what I need to do. So it becomes frustrating for me sometimes, and it's kind of hard to deal with. So, my bad for that. You know, I don't mean to be doing that, but it's just, that's just how it is sometimes, you know, where's frustration where, you know, but whatever. So I'm trying to get rid of all the shit that I have. Like, anything that I have around my house that's worth money, like, I'm even going to start posting back on eBay again. And I've said a million times I don't want to do that. But I think that there's some of these things I have, like, I have a, you know, an enormous stash of timing covers, oil pans, stuff like that. If I can sell them, make 30, 40 bucks here or there, and slowly get rid of this heap of shit that I have, because when I move from this place, I don't want to carry anything over to the next one. So again, with me having the B series and having space for that swap, like, I don't want to sit on a fucking swap somewhere and then worry about trying to find another car, because right now the inflation on old cars is insane. Like, the thing is with Hondas, and you're gonna hear a lot, you know, a lot of people say it's just a Honda, and people think, oh fuck, it's just a Honda, you know, you're a hater. But I'm one of those guys as well. Like, I know that you guys think Honda channel, Honda guys, you must got mad respect for Honda, but I didn't really, you know, there's two things about me getting into the Honda game. One, I got into the Honda game because that just was the first car that I was introduced to that was fast, like, you know, that had any speed. My first race was a Honda versus Honda, and that's what made my love for cars, when I had zero interest before. It was my speed junkie gene that got activated. This is why I got into cars. And then Honda, because of time, you know, time and place where I was at, the people I was surrounded with were all Honda guys. So that played huge factors into it as well. And then the second most important thing is cost. You know, I could look at Hondas and be like, I can do that. Even when I was making barely over minimum wage, where I was making like $10, $11 an hour, it was something I could consider doing even on that kind of budget. It was something I could work for because it was affordable. So when I see people posting old Hondas for like $3,000, $4,000 or stock untouched, I'm like, that's insane. That's fucking crazy, because it's just a fucking Honda, right? The main allure for Honda, and the main reason why broke boys are in the Honda game, young guys are in the Honda game, is because the cars are affordable and easy to modify. But once we get to the point where we're selling the cars for like, you know, $4,000 or $5,000, $6,000 for an old Honda, then that touches a whole new group of enthusiasts. Those are like the purists, the ones that just respect the Honda brand and stuff like that. You know, I just want an unmolested Honda Civic. I don't care about Hondas like that. Just got into a conversation with another guy. You know, I have a lot of people in my friends list that don't talk to me on a regular basis. And then when they do talk to me on the rare occasion, it's because they have a Honda question, right? Go fucking figure. I have a guy that I haven't spoke to, I served with in El Paso, and I haven't spoke to him in forever. And he hits me up. He's like, and he shows me a picture of his pretty super clean fucking EK sedan. And the guy's listed price is $3,000. He's like, what do you think? Is this car, is, you know, is a good price? Is this a deal? I'm like, yeah, dude, like, the car is pretty mint. Like, I don't see anything body-wise that I would make fun of. The interior looks in good shape. It's all stock, you know, AC, power steering, all that stuff. Like, you're going to be really hard-pressed to find anybody selling that same car at that price. I was like, if it was a local listing, like, I have no doubt in my mind that it would be listed for $5,000. And people would be roasting him and laughing at him, and I'd probably be one of them. But at the same time, you know, that's just what people are listening for nowadays. Like, one guy lists his car for this price, and another guy's, well, damn, what's mine worth? You know, and everybody's inflating the fuck out of prices, and usually they don't sell. That's usually what they get listed for and they're asking for. So, and then he's talking about, you know, the mileage on the car and whatnot. I'm like, well, so eventually got to, you know, got to the thing where I'm like, well, if you're willing to spend, you know, like $3,000 on an old fucking single cam, then you might want to consider buying an RSX Type S or maybe an 8th Gen SI. Now, the 8th Gen SI might go for like $5,000 or $6,000 for the asking price or whatnot, but it's still a better car by far. And then on top of that too, like, you know, as the RSXs are like going for between $3,000 to $5,000. So I'm like, if you're willing to spend that kind of money on a single cam, bro, just get a fucking stock Type S. And then he's like, oh, stock Type S are like $8,000 for a clean one. I'm like, well, at that point, I'm like, well, you're talking to the wrong dude, man. Because when I'm looking at Hondas, I'm not looking at a fucking car, the shape it's in, how clean it is or whatnot. I don't give a fuck about that. I give a fuck about buying a cheap car that I can make really fast for for a little bit of money. That's all I care about when it comes to Honda. I was like, the S2000. There's only two Hondas that that Honda ever produced that are old that I would ever consider spending big money on: NSX and S2K. I don't have NSX money, and even if I do ever have NSX money, I don't think I'd spend it on an old one. I'd buy a new one. And then the S2000, which obviously I bought. And the main reason why I bought that car, there's a lot of reasons go into it. Well, a couple of reasons being that people said that I didn't have enough money to do it, so I just wanted to be like, yeah, I do. And then another one was like my son. That was the defining moment. The deal breaker was my son saying, let's get that. So I'm like, okay, we'll do that. But the last thing being that the car is rare and there is recognition. So if I build from scratch, or if I build an S2K, or I'm building an F20 Seed, I can, like, not only I can have a rare Honda that I can have that'll get attention that I can showcase, but I can be like, yeah, I built that engine, right? And then that goes, because all the engines I build, it takes forever to get results back. So I'll have one that's definitive, like I built that car, and that's showcased, and then plus it'll maybe encourage people with more money to come through with me for a build. So there was, money returns was the reason why at the end of the day I decided to buy the S2000, because $11,000 in that car plus the like $5,000 or $6,000 I've already spent in parts before really doing anything to the car. Not to mention the labor that's coming up, which is going to be close to $1,000, and then the tuning that's going to come up, which is going to be $300 to $500. So it's a lot of money going into this car. I think at the end of the day, I'm paying like, well, $18,000, maybe close to 20 grand once it's all said and done. Now, of course, it's going to be a badass car when it's finished. And if I want to sell it, of course, I'm not going to lose money on it. I refuse to lose money on this car. It's never going to happen. And if I keep it, that's something I can give to my son. He's going to be 11 this year. We're 5 years out from a license. So, especially with the way I move with getting projects done, it's not that far away. But anyway, so there's a lot of shit goes into a lot of decisions recently, and just a lot of random thoughts I was having, and I know that that a lot of you guys, with that guy who was like a somewhat friend of mine, an associate of mine from the past, and talking about like finding pristine Hondas and shit. Like, there's been guys that have DM'd me from here, like on Instagram or Facebook or whatnot, asking my opinions for deals. And I say, at the end of the day, if it's worth it for you, if that's what you really want, to spend it. Don't let nobody clown you on how much money you're going to spend. Now, try not to be ridiculous. Do search around the market and see your options, and then go with the best one that meets what you want. But when I got the S2000, I kind of was focused on, I just want an original body. I want original body, and I want black interior. Those were my two big things. So I wasn't really nitpicking on a lot of shit. Of course, I wanted the car to be healthy. I didn't want the car to be beat up or whatnot. And the car drove fine. For the most part, it drives fine. There's some things that need to be done, but it's just, wear and tear situation. The car's 20 years old. So as much as the fact that I'm a Honda fan, I may not be as big a Honda fan as some of you guys in certain regards. I made a video a couple months ago about people spending $5,000 on a stock car. Now, some of you guys may think that's worth it, but I think that's fucking outrageous. Hopefully when we get the situation done where I buy a house and I have more space to stash cars, because I'm paving my backyard. Sooner or later, we're going to buy a house and the backyard's getting concreted over. So once that happens, I'll have plenty of parking space in the back to park more cars, and then I might buy some more cars. But yeah, but after this whole situation with the S2000 being parked for as long as it has, although even if I drive it, like how many cars can I relatively drive at one time? So I don't think I'm gonna have more than three, maybe 4 cars at most if I actually start tracking a car. But yeah, so just looking forward to some more shit in the future. A B series is probably done for me, and hopefully we'll have the S2000 done, by the end of August, like the labor for the rebuild, the swap, and all that stuff. So going into September, it would be just look into who's going to tune it. And I have one idea, of course, that immediately comes to mind, but it's not solid a decision until it's solid. So we'll see what happens at the end, and hopefully we get everything done, and we'll be deep into Q3 for the year. I think getting ready to go into 4 by the time the S2K is done. And then I think we're going to be just cruising for the rest of the year. I said that by the end of the year I was going to get a PRL intake for the S2, for the Type R. And I could really do that anytime I wanted, but I'm not in a rush to do it. I'm not in a rush to do it. You know, I'm still on the fence of whether I'm going to throw that intake on there or do anything at all. I don't know. Right now, the whole year is pretty much consumed with thoughts of the S2000, and I don't really know what I'm going to do next year. Plus, you know, the business is doing well for VHP engines, and I'm feeling more and more pressure on myself to perform. Like, cause you know, I gotta. The idea is to do better or do the same at least as you've done the year before, and I haven't tallied July's total yet. You know, there's a couple. You know, with me moving everything to PayPal, though, I can see pretty much everything I made for the month. There's only like one or two like small charges that didn't come through PayPal to factor in. But as of right now, my PayPal earnings halfway through the year match what I made by the end of last year. Now, of course, my PayPal earnings isn't the total earnings for the year, but that can be said the same as well for the PayPal earnings this year. So I think that I have matched already what I've made last year, and so we're already good. We're already in the safe zone. As long as I match what I've made the year before, you know, I don't really care so much if I improve on it. I mean, I care, of course. I always want to make more money. Who doesn't? But at least my soft goal has been made. And because I've made so much more extra money this year, it's going to be hard, like, I think, to match or beat that next year, even with the 1 or 2 slow months I've had this year. I think what's really going to come down to the make or break thing is the S2K, which is why I'm pushing on, you know, leaning on Lee, like, hey, bro, you need to give me a decision where we're going to do this, or if I need to find a way to do this myself or somewhere else or whatever, because I really think that the S2000 is going to be a huge marketing thing, you know, going forward, because of the content I can make revolving around it and then getting out there. But I don't know for sure until it's done, but I want it done so that way, hopefully we get this done by the end of Q3 this year, and then I'll have all Q4 to make content around it, and then that'll make a difference going into the next year, how many followers I can pick up, or how much more advertisement I can get, you know, going into next year to help with next year's sales. I don't know, like I don't want to make any plans for next year just yet. And like, I know that, and maybe you're thinking like, oh, we're barely into August, you know, but we're already in August, you know, we're already deep into Q3. And like yesterday, it was the beginning of the year. So, but I said last year going into this year I was going to travel more, and because of the S2000, a lot of big purchases. You know, like my bank account is healthy, but it's not as big as it could have been. Like if you look at the total income for my household versus the money we have in the bank right now, you would think, God, fuck, where the fuck did the money go? Well, you know, nearly 20 grand on the S2000, and then plus the deposit for the Type R is a couple $1,000s. You know, a couple $1,000s for my wife's new car. So I would say it's kind of a safe bet to say that we spent like around $30,000 or close to it on cars this year. So so that's just some shit to consider going into next year. But also the plane ticket prices are creeping back up. So I was thinking about making a last minute run to H-Day because I want to take my family on a trip. But last year, I think the prices for like a round trip flight was like $125 for a single person. Now it's like $227 for a single person, and like times 4. So for a one night stay to go to H-Day, I can't do it. So gonna miss H-Day this year. Although I wasn't really 100% planning to go, I missed the first one as well. So looks like I wanted to travel a lot this year, but instead of traveling a lot this year, I didn't do like any traveling at all. But again, double down to finish the S2000, and then once the S2K is done, I will be making appearances at the local events and the state events. So when there's events at West Palm Beach, when there's events in Orlando, and when there's events in Bradenton, which is over New Holden of the Booster Boys, you will see the S2K out there, because I didn't spend all this time and money on this fucking car for me not to show it off. You know, hard parking, but still showing it, right? So I don't want to take any risk of blowing my car up or fucking smashing it into a wall. So gonna be chill with it, you know, drive it, do hardcore pull every once in a while, but for the most part, just cruise and park. So, I guess the one soft plan for next year is to have the S2K all wrapped up by the end of this year, and then to be able to actually drive around Florida to show this up. So for those of you guys that are somewhat local to me, you'll have a chance to see the car in person. And then, so I guess I could say that at the very end of the year, going into the last couple weeks of December, I could make a soft plan of what to expect for next year. But there's a good chance I might wait for the whole first quarter of next year to finish before making any solid plans. I got to see where my accounts are at, where the projects are at, and all that good stuff. And yeah, so I guess it's kind of like a half year review. and a lot of stuff that's just, a lot of random stuff that's floating on my mind. But, I don't really have many people to talk to about stuff like this. I guess it's my wife really to talk to, and she only half listens because she only half cares. So I thought I'd take some time to talk to you guys again for a little bit, and the next time I get some content ideas, I'll come back. Like I said before many times also, like, I don't force myself to make content. I do stuff as it comes to me. But it is nice to be able to talk to you guys every once in a while. And I mentioned podcasts at the end of last year, and I still want to do that, but I still got to try and figure out a way exactly I want to work with it, because I want to do the podcast. It's not going to just be me. It's going to be a couple of us. And one of the people that's for sure 100% going to be on it is going to be Baytech. And I can't fly to fucking Scotland just to have a podcast. So I need to be able to find a way to do this, do a stream together. And I would like to also have Irvin Dorsey on here. So it's going to be me, Baytech, and Irvin for sure. And then hopefully that rolls on where we can do like a regular podcast, once every quarter year at first. And if it gets popularity and more people get interested in doing it, then we can do it more from there. And yes, potentially at that point, then I would be willing to travel to do podcasts instead of just having do it at home or whatnot, but we'll see. But that's definitely something that's going to happen eventually in the future. I got to come up with a proper name for the damn thing. It's going to be streamed on this channel, of course, but the podcast, I will have its own name. And if it becomes its own thing, I might branch out to be its own thing. I don't know. But that way, that way you can kind of keep in touch with everybody, what's going on throughout the year, and plans for throughout the year, and just to be able to talk to car people every once in a while, because I'm notorious for saying I don't have friends, and I really don't. And this past month really shows how friendless I fucking am. So yeah, I just like to be able to keep in touch with people in the community, even though I've kind of like sequestered myself off. And we'll see how things go. All right, guys. Thanks for watching, as always, for you fucking champions who make it to the end. And peace. See you next time.